Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 704 High School Highlight Podcast. My name is Jeff Taylor. I'm the sports director here at Bahakel Sports. Thanks for joining us for another episode. And I am joined by a very special guest, Dawson Jones. He is a senior at Marvin Ridge,
Yes, sir.
and he is a place kicker for the football team. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just talk about this first. Talk to me a little bit about your journey. Did you grow up, love playing football? Did you start late in life? Like, how did football all come about?
I grew up being a soccer player, and so as a lot of kickers, we all start as soccer players.
Let me stop you there for a minute. I was a kicker. Just let everybody know, but go ahead.
And so I kind of grew up just kicking any sort of ball, and that's how I built my leg. And so one day I just decided to pick up a football and try it, and then I was like, maybe I'm good at it. And so then I joined the middle school football team 7th grade, and then have just been playing ever since.
And what school was that?
Marvin Ridge.
Oh, it's Marvin Ridge. Got it. Cool. Awesome. Cool. So, you say you kind of picked it up and started doing it. Was there a moment, do you remember in your young life where it was like, okay, I can really do this? You know, I'm getting a difference from just going, okay, it's fun to, I can really do this. Was there kind of a defining moment?
Yep. I did a kicking camp going in my 8th grade year, and a lot of the top kids in the whole area were there. And so I ended up winning the camp, and then I was like, maybe, I can compete with all the top kids, and maybe there's a future in football. And so I was like, I'm going to play high school and just stick it out and see where it goes.
Cool. So, for folks out there who may not know, people say they're like, okay, it's just kicking a football. But just explain to me just how mechanical it is. What is the mindset and the physical part of it? Like, you know what I'm trying to get at?
Yep.
How tough is it? Because people are like, you miss a 30-yard field goal, stuff, whatever. How tough is it mechanically and just all together how to get it done?
Well, it's super tough because there's a lot of different mechanical aspects. In the start is there's everything contact, and there's so many different ways we approach that, and where you hit the ball, and there's everything from your steps and alignment to backswing to follow through. There's 10, 20 different major aspects in the mechanics, and so it's hard because you have it takes a while to fine tune each different part and put them all together. It's hard to put every single aspect that you've been working on for a long time and make it all flow together and work.
So in terms of senior year of high school, how excited are you? Here we go. We're getting started, just this week or next week. How excited are you for the season? And, let me talk about Marvin Ridge and the team. The coach, what's his message been maybe out there, and what is maybe the expectations for the season, for the team itself?
We have pretty high expectations this year. We kind of did a program shift, and we kind of were we're going to break down from the base of our program and see what can we improve on to have a better season than last season. And so we have brought in a leadership council of a bunch of kids, and so we have had a lot of meetings with the coaches and being this is where we think as players it could help grow our program, what we need to do. And so we've implemented a lot of different changes and a lot of new standards for our program. And so right now they're working, and we feel really good for the season.
Cool. Growing up and playing football and being a kicker also, do you think we put too much pressure on ourselves? There are 11 guys that are out there, 22 guys when you think about offense, defense, and stuff like that. And I always had a coach tell me, I remember I missed an extra point one time and was devastated because we lost 14-13. But I remember the coach pulled me aside going, you did not lose us the game. There's a lot more to it. We should have scored more points. We shouldn't have given up the 2 touchdowns. But as a mentality of a kicker, how tough is it not to kind of have the weight of the entire – you step out there in the spotlight to have the entire weight of the team, the school, everybody around, not to have that weight on your shoulders. And how do you maybe, just kind of push that aside?
It is tough with all the pressure because I feel as a kicker it's different than most positions where if you mess up, the whole play's messed up, and it's and you might not get another shot to go out there. You're not guaranteed another kick, another punt in the game, when a lot of times if you're a quarterback, if you throw a pick, you get to go out there next drive and just, redo it and kind of just go. And so as a kicker, it's kind of you have one shot, and if you miss, it is tough because that's your job and your one thing. And so I guess it's just getting over the mindset of you can make a mistake. It's I'm just going to go out, I'm going to get it out of my mind and just hit the next one. It's hard to do, but it's just something all of us have to learn.
Yeah, I know, and you mentioned people always when they talk about kickers and stuff, they're you have one job. Mm-hmm. Okay, but so does everybody else.
Yeah.
Quarterback has one job, be the quarterback. Lineman, you have your job, block. So I get what you're saying. It is tough. So did place kicking. I know punting wise, did you just have you punted since middle school, or did you just kind of start meshing into that, or have you punted the whole time too?
I've started the past year and a half, 2 years, kind of implementing the punting, and I've been going to my trainer a lot, and so we've started from scratch, and so I'm a little bit late to join the punting party, but it's going pretty well.
Talk to me about that. How tough is that to punt?
It's
punt well.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because punting's all like you have to get rotation on the ball, and so it's all based on like if you like hit a millimeter off like the center of the football, like you might get a bad rotation, and that's going to throw off the whole punt. So no matter how good your drop is, like dropping the football, no matter how good your swing is, it's like if you mishit the ball by like an inch, a millimeter, whatever, like your whole punt's kind of thrown off. So it's super specific to hit the ball right and get the rotation.
I know place kicking wise, it's a little different ball game than maybe the punting. I remember the first time I punted in a game. I'd practiced it and stuff, but the first time I actually punted in a game, and I knew I had 11 guys or 10 guys coming at me. Do you remember the first time you punted and maybe had somebody coming at you, those 10 guys or 8 guys, and what was that like?
It was in middle.
Rush?
It was in middle school, and I was like shaking kind of back there. I was like, I've never really punted in practice at all. I was like, I just gotta catch it and kick it, and the snap went over my head in the end zone, so it made it even worse. And I just picked it up and I kicked it, and I got it maybe 20 yards downfield, and I was like, it could be worse. I didn't really have high expectations because I knew it was gonna be pretty tough.
So, walk me through a practice. I know that the offense is doing their deal, the defense is doing their deal. I know for myself, I would take 8 balls and go to the field and kick for 2 hours. Just talk to me a little bit about what maybe a practice looks like for you.
It's going to depend a lot on the days of the week because of what special teams we're going to be doing that day. And so we normally start off like we go by periods in our practice. It's all like period 1, period 2. And so a lot of times it'll be like pretty early in the practice with special teams. And so if I hear we're going to do punt today, so that's kind of my whole warm-up. I get stretched, do all the warm-ups that way. And then it's more like, I do drops and I do just a bunch of stuff without even kicking the football, just work on mechanically what I can do. And then I'll hit a couple balls, go into punt period. And then after that, it's really kind of just like stretch and wait because like we have a lot of rep counts and we have like a lot of things we have to hit. And so it's hard, like sometimes you don't have much to do because you can't keep kicking or else your leg's going to be tired and sore.
How do you stay kind of in tune with the team? I mean, do you follow like if they're doing offense, follow the offense, know the plays, kind of know what the calls are, know what's going down? How much are you like in tune for a practice when maybe you're just sitting on the sidelines?
Yeah, I'm always paying attention. I'm watching and seeing if like I can go service the offense. Like if the quarterbacks need just people like underhand snaps or when we do like routes on air and stuff, I'm always like there like, hey, I'll toss you the balls, or defense if they need someone just to throw to the corners while they're doing, ball tracking drills and stuff. I'm always just wanting to help in whatever I can do.
So I probably consider you, and looking at some things, one of the top special team players in our area in terms of, and I know you were recruited by people. Talk to me a little bit about the recruitment process. How crazy was that? Getting letters in the mail or hearing from coaches or having coaches come to your house. Just how crazy was that process?
It was super crazy because it took up 24/7, like all my time with the recruiting process because everything was like on social media and an email, and then you would get letters in the mail, and then they'd be like, we want you to come up on a weekend visit. So most every weekend I was gone on visits, and then I was on my phone when I wasn't on a visit.
Right.
I was texting coaches, sending out film. It was just a lot. It was hectic. It's fun.
So West Point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is where you've committed to Army and stuff. I assume you visited there. How cool was that?
It was super cool. I didn't really know what to expect the moment I stepped on campus because it's different being a military school, and I was like, it's going to be a lot different than everywhere I've been. But in reality, it wasn't really much different. Like facility-wise and football-wise, it's all the same. Obviously, you're doing different things. When you're not in football, you're gonna have different like types of classes and different like training and military aspects. But it kind of felt like home when I stepped on campus. It was a feeling I really didn't feel anywhere else. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I told all 3 of my boys the same thing. When you went to college visits, you just know.
You do.
And all 3 of them have. From South Carolina to App State to Tennessee, they've all known. Outside of West Point, was there one school that was just really kind of like, oh wow, I'm here? Like what? I mean, you could be on awe of everything, but was there one school that was just kind of like, okay, wow?
I was a pretty big fan of South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, their facilities were pretty top notch.
Good answer. No.
They were. It kind of blew me away because that was one of the first schools like I visited that was like a Power 5 school.
Okay.
And so it was my sophomore year, and I'd not really seen a lot of places, and I saw like kind of the magnitude of like what you get while playing football there, and I was kind of like,
Okay.
I'd not seen that anywhere else, and I was like, well, I'd not been to a lot of big places before. I was kind of like shocked, like this is what the life is of like a student athlete there, and like what you get.
So I went to 3 kicking camps while I was in high school.
Okay.
In between my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year and stuff, and went to 3, and they were all at South Carolina.
Okay.
So I got to kick at Williams-Brice. And I remember walking into Williams-Brice going, okay, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This is insane. So I get the idea. You're hottest place on the face of the earth, though.
It is hot.
Although now in Charlotte, who knows? But I just remember walking away from Columbia going, this is brutal. So to get to where you are at and where you're going, family has to be important. I know you talk about parents driving you places early in the morning, getting you to practices, getting you to workouts, making sure you eat correctly, stay on top of great stuff. How important has family been?
They've been really important, and my parents and everyone in my family have been super supportive of me, especially like my mom. Every week she's like, what food do you need for the week? What do you need to fuel your body, to gain weight, whatever. My dad has driven me everywhere. The amount of times we've had to hop in the car for recruiting trips and just drive 8 hours like on the spot. And he's driven me, and he goes and fetches all my footballs while I'm kicking, just goes out there and films for me. And so my parents have been really supportive and have helped me, get to where I am, and I couldn't do it without them. So
along those lines, you talk about family, you talk about sports. To get where you're going in terms of West Point, obviously scholastics have to come into play. So how have you stayed on your grades the way you have? How tough has it been to set a schedule? Because we're at a point now where high school football has changed.
Yes.
When I was high school football, it was you played, September to, November, and that was it. You might practice in August for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I've had a couple boys play. It's almost like college to a point
is.
now where it's, almost 24/7 stuff. So how do you keep the grades going, and how do you kind of, schedule your time out?
It's hard to schedule a timeout because, like, you wake up, you go to school, you have practice, you got homework, and then you have to start it all over again. And a lot of times you're tired after practice, and you don't want to do your homework, and you're like, well, I can just put it off, and it's going to build on you. So it's just remembering, like, to play football, you have to take care of the grades parts, because now with, like, all the rules, and like at our school, if you don't maintain a certain GPA or anything, you're not allowed to play football. And so it's been they've cracked down on academics, and it's kind of forced all of us to be like, you know what, if we want to play football, we have to put grades first and get the job done in the classroom. And then recruiting's even pushed that farther, because all the coaches are like, well, what's your SAT score, ACT score, GPA, and you have to send, that's one of the first things they ever ask you. And so if you don't meet the standards for college, they're going to say, well, move on to the next guy, because there's so many recruits out there.
Right. Let me ask you this, and go along those lines. I've had a couple of coaches on and a couple of other players, and we've talked about this, and a couple of times I've asked the question. You can answer it. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. The transfer portal, in terms of, for me, I struggle with it. I get if, their kids in college and they were recruited by a coach and that coach leaves and they were just so attached to that coach and they want to move, I get that. The ones where the kids are like, I'm just not getting playing time, I want to go somewhere else. What's your thought on the transfer portal? And do you like it? Do you not like it? Because obviously, to me too, it takes away from some of the high school kids getting the chance to play.
Yes.
So have you thought about it? I mean, because obviously you were recruited, so what's your thoughts on that?
I have pretty mixed emotions about it, because there's some things in it where I'm like, if something happens at a school and stuff and a coach leaves and everything, it's like, I think the players, if they want to be able to go, should be able to go. But there's other times where it's like, all the college players are just like, oh, I want this, that. And they're like, well, they can never just stick it out and just play. And like, I think it teaches a lot of bad things in life.
So talk to me a little bit about NIL. I know personally for me, I don't really like it for high school. I get it for college. High school wise, I don't know. Just talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on the NIL for high school kids.
I haven't seen a big part of the NIL in high school. I haven't seen anything at all, at least when it comes to me and my teammates, and we haven't really got anything. So it's hard to really see what it does to high school athletes, because I'm not a part of it. And so, I mean, do I think high school players should be just getting paid? Not really.
Right.
Especially, and then getting paid to go to colleges, I mean, that's been happening for years, I think,
Right. Under the
not
table.
under
Right.
the table,
Exactly. Right.
but publicly, I think that creates a lot of locker room issues and can create a lot of problems. So I'm not the biggest fan of it, but again, I don't really see a big part I don't really see it a lot, so I don't really
Because what gets to me is, to me, there's just a purity about high school sports. It is what it is. It's like the last pure thing left in sports in terms of just, moral good stuff and just slowly dwindling away. And we know, and we've talked with Coach Griner from West Charlotte last week a little bit, when we talk about the transfer portal, I mean, there are high school kids who will put on their social media, God bless, I'm transferring to this school from one school to another. And sometimes I get it, but it's almost wedging its way into high schools, and it gets a little crazy. So with the success you've had and getting all, the exposure and making trips and now going to West Point, being a teenage young man, is it hard to keep your head not blowing up look at me, I'm the man? Is it hard to kind of to be humble?
It's hard in some ways, and sometimes it's really not, because if you go now social media, you can see what everyone's getting offer wise and visit wise. And so a lot of times you're sitting there well, this kid just got this offer, they just got this visit, and you're well, that's an offer I wanted. Or so you're always seeing people that maybe are getting things that you want, and so sometimes it's easy now to be I want that, so I'm gonna go chase after that instead of getting big headed. But sometimes then when you get something, it's well, I just got this. You gotta remember you gotta keep chasing. You can never just get satisfied, because you just gotta keep working to get what you want.
So we talk about going to West Point and afterwards and career and stuff like that. Is there any thought of progressing and getting a shot at the pros? Has that even entered your mind as you work through all of this?
I mean, it has entered my mind, because I'm I'd love to go play professional football. I've got trained with a lot of different NFL kickers and specialists, and so I see what they can do, and I'm be well, I want to work hard and I want to get to that level. Realistically, it's a very hard goal, because there's 32 kickers, 32 punters in the NFL.
Right.
So it's a really hard goal, but obviously I'm going to work, and if I can get to that level, I'd love to. But the nice thing about West Point is I know that if I don't get to that, I'm going to be set for life, and I'm going to be able to go into a career that I want and go serve. And
so in terms of the NFL, who do you think the best kicker is? Today,
the best kicker? I have to say Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, man's got a leg.
He does.
He's got a cannon. I still go back to Adam Vinatieri and all the stuff he did. But yeah, when you mentioned 32 kickers, 32 punters. But of course, there's a lot less kickers in high school and college, I guess, also.
Yes.
And then I guess my last question for you is, how do you shake off the moments where things don't go as well? Miss a kick, shank a punt. How do you kind of regroup?
Mentally, I just regroup, and I think, everyone makes mistakes. The best players in the world will make mistakes. Something one of my coaches have told me is our offensive line coach was well, the NFL offensive linemen, they all make mistakes every game. The pros do it, so why can't y'all make a mistake and just get past it and just keep going? Because everyone does it, and we're young. In high school, all of us are 16, 17 playing football, and it's their 20s and the 30s. It's we're so much younger, and it's we have to learn it's okay to make a mistake, and it's what you do after it that matters. And so it's taken a lot to learn that, because a lot of times it's hard. Everyone's you made a mistake, and you put your head down. And I've had my fair share of those moments, but working on keeping my head up and realizing you got another chance to go out and let's prove yourself on the next one.
I did actually have one more question, so my apologies. So, you open play this week?
We do. We play Reagan.
Reagan. So, talk to me a little bit about them. What do you know about them? What has the coach talked about? What does it take to get a win against a team like that?
Well, first of all, our coach says they're a very quality opponent. They have a lot of really, really talented players, and it's going to be a tough football team. But we're just focusing on us and what we do as a team, and not really necessarily what everyone else does. We want to be the best version of ourselves as we can and be the best team we can. And then we feel if we just go out and be the best team we can, we're going to go out and we're going to beat some people. And we're excited about the season. Yeah.
Cool. Dawson Jones.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your time, man. Best of luck this year at Marvin Ridge. Good luck in Army.
Thank you.
I know you'll do everybody proud.
Thanks.
And thank you guys for watching the 704 High School Highlight Podcast. thanks for just sticking with us and checking out Dawson here and all he's doing and all he will do. And just make sure that you check us out wherever you listen or watch your podcast. Make sure you like, comment, share. We love to keep in contact. If you have any guest ideas or questions, make sure you hit me up at bahakelsports.com. And until then, have a great week.